Hi, Julian DeRosier from the IIF, International Investment Forum, here live in Mining Indaba 2022, Cape Town in South Africa. I'm joined here, and I'm going to try your name, but please don't have anything against me. Pina Schalk van Wyk.
Yes, just short, Pine.
Pine, that would be very easy. Good. Country director for which country?
Namibia.
Namibia for Celsius Resources. We're very pleased to have you here. And before we dig into business, it's a question I ask to everyone of how great it is to be back in person and have live events.
No, it is just changing everything. There's nothing like having that personal contact, to build relationships and, move discussions forward. Yeah.
Absolutely. So this is maybe explain all the smiles we see of the mining community right now, or maybe it's also the commodity prices, the big boom we're living in.
Well, definitely. Celsius is involved in cobalt and copper, two good commodities, driving the EV business, and yeah, we're excited. It's good times.
It's good to hear, because basically there's a big need out there for more minerals, more energy transition driven minerals and so on. But there's still a lack of production. There's still a big gap in between the project that are right now existing, the one that will come in production in the near future, which is not too many of them yet, and the forecast of the needs. And how does Celsius goes inside and find this place?
Yeah. So I'm going to talk about our cobalt project, because that, I think, is the most significant one. We all know that cobalt is very centralized out of the DRC.
Yes.
I think 70% last year was produced in the DRC, only 30% outside of the DRC. That brings a big risk, to the commodity as a single country is controlling such a big component. So we're fortunate in Namibia. In 2014, we discovered the copper cobalt project in North Namibia. It is a very large project. We've drilled, 50,000 meters. We declared a big resource. We can produce 5% of the global cobalt for 40 years out of a country, that's an excellent mining jurisdiction, Namibia. And we can give conflict-free cobalt, to the world.
Exactly, and this brings obviously tears of conversation into ESG, into supply chain, into the fact that we learned through the past few years that it doesn't matter which country it is. If there's a very high supply that comes from only one single country, no matter what country it is,
yes,
it could lead to future problems.
That's correct.
And that means obviously that companies in Germany, in Europe, in Canada, in the US, we saw a great US story in cobalt lately, being the first production asset going on.
Yeah.
Story we didn't see in a long time, which really confirmed the need of moving on and of supply diversity, which for the past 10 years was a lot of talks, but not much walk in that sector.
Yeah, well, I think obviously, with the current increase in demand, that's not the typical 2, 3, 4% per year. We're going to see more of those, and like all metal booms, what you're going to see is only the few good projects, will actually make it to the end. And we're confident that, in this round, we are one of those bigger players that can make it to the end and be in production for a very long time.
Exactly, and you discussed about size of resources, but moreover than size or longevity, what makes your Namibian project better or at the forefront of the leaders?
Yeah, so a lot of cobalt that is produced is actually a byproduct of either nickel or copper. So the primary commodity, plant the size to deal with how much copper output you want or nickel, and the cobalt is just a byproduct.
Exactly.
Our project is the turnaround of that. So 70% of our value is in the cobalt, and copper will be a byproduct. So we will be a primary cobalt producer, and not a byproduct. So we can react to the market. If we need to increase output, we can increase output. And we'll give investors a pure exposure to cobalt, and I think, there's a demand out there from investors, to have a pure cobalt exposure.
Absolutely, and this is where I think the story is interesting, is, as you said, it reversed the normal way we think about those projects. It makes with copper being a byproduct, it's a luxurious byproduct to have right now because it is in need. And basically that means that your economics are not driven by copper, which reducing or raising production depending on the copper price, but basically being a pure cobalt-driven operation, just like we see sometimes. Gold, silver being streamed or something else, or as we see in other type of deposit, but really scaling your operation towards only one thing, cobalt production.
That's correct, yes. So that's what our focus is going to be. Obviously, the challenge with these type of projects, it is big investments. And it needs a good sustaining high price, to trigger that investment and get the project going and get it paid for. Once it's up and running, it will be there for many years. So.
Absolutely, and maybe you want to tell viewers a little more about the inside of your company, management, distribution. How does people that do not know Celsius Resources can look forward to?
Yeah. So, we are listed on the Australian Stock Exchange. We're planning to dual list in London in the next month or so. We need to raise a little bit more money to finish some of our feasibility studies. We basically have a very experienced in-country team in Namibia. Myself, I've been involved in Namibia mining industry for the last 25 years. I've built uranium mines, I've built graphite mines, I've built fluorspar mines. We know the lie of the land. We've got very good relationships, at all stakeholder levels. We are fortunate to have that sort of skill base in Namibia that can actually, take projects from exploration all the way into production.
Exactly. And for viewers that maybe would look at Namibia for the first time, how stable is it as a country?
Well, I think Namibia is probably number 2 on the African continent, next to Botswana. We have a very strong rule of law in the country. Your tenements is legally secure. We've got a clear process. Yes, in Africa, there's always here and there some corruption, but it's not something that we deal with on a daily basis. So it is a country with proper infrastructure. Our project is blessed with, tar road all the way to the project, maybe 10 kilometers of gravel. We're very close to the power grid, main power grid and water sources. And we've got excellent, rail and port infrastructure. So we are not fighting the normal battles if you're deep somewhere in Africa where you don't have infrastructure. And that makes it, easy for a project, to move forward.
Absolutely. And so if an investor wants to learn more about your project, what's your website?
CelsiusResources.com.au. That's our website. And our ticker on the stock exchange in Australia is CLA.
Perfect. Well, Pine, thank you very much for your time. It was a pleasure to see you in person this time. And we're looking forward to continue following your story out there on the publicly traded list.
Thank you. Pleasure.